Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another day here at Live at the Waterhole on WildEarth. My name is Amy, and I will be with you for the whole show today. How great is that? We get to sit together and watch the different waterholes as the day goes by and see what comes down to drink. We are starting this morning off here at the beautiful Okukuyo in Namibia. A reminder to everyone to please make sure you send through your comments and questions. This is a live and interactive show, and I would love to hear from you. Tell me who you are, where you're from, and what you're hoping to see today. Later on, please send through any questions you may have about what we're looking at. Maybe some interesting discussion points or things you'd like to know. Or just what you're enjoying about the show as well. I'd love to hear from you. You can see we have some clouds that have come over here in Namibia. The last few days have been beautiful, clear blue skies. And it looks like it is quite overcast. Perhaps a change in weather passing through Okukuyo today. Hi, Joanna. A very warm welcome to you today. And I'm also looking forward to Max Relax at the Waterhole. I like that. I think I'm going to coin it, Joanna, if that's okay with you. I hope everyone just has a beautiful, peaceful time with the show, whether it's something that you actively watch or have it on in the background, just to be able to every now and glance at a screen and see a beautiful Africa as part of your workday or in your home. We are very grateful that you have chosen us to be part of your day today. It's always lovely to see the different animals that arrive here at Okukuyo. We never quite know who's going to pitch up when. I think there are some kudu on the right there drinking, some springbuck around the edge of the waterhole. Hopefully some zebra make their way a bit closer later. Perhaps we'll have a giraffe again. Always one of my favorite things to see here. And of course the eddies. That would be fantastic to have a herd come through, as they have done quite often this week. I do apologize for any voices you may hear in the background, everybody. For those of you who are not aware, we have some tourists who come to Okukuyo and they come and have a look out at the waterhole. And so sometimes we do pick up them chatting in the background if you were not sure where that was coming from.
Halt nimmst du mich schon gar nicht mehr so schlimm wie gestern. Sag kurz.
Guck mal, Line-Video.
I see a springbuck has decided to go for a full-on swim here in the waterhole. I can just see its head bobbing up and down in the water.
Nee, die ist viel zu hoch. Ja, gut.
Und dann haben wir auch.
Ja, ist schon unten, ne?
Ja, wie benutzt du das mit deinem Religion? Ah, okay.
Hi, Jenny. Yes, me too. I absolutely love the sound of the splashing, mostly from the springboks who are in and out of the water. And it is extremely peaceful. I find just that it's almost like the ocean waves. You know, if you do enjoy the beach or are close to a beach or have ever experienced that before, that very sort of peaceful sounds, the swishing
So, Elefante
of the
kannst du
ocean waves hitting the beach. I find this similar in some ways of the water movement in a particular pattern with these animals moving around. It's like a constant splash in the background.
Muss ich das Schuhe mal holen? Oh, nee, das ist nichts. Das ist nicht mal gut.
Haben wir gesehen. Du hast ihn aufgeregt. Svenjas Mission in Namibia, Springbok essen hier gibt's.
Jetzt sogar mal einen Steuern mit den Taschen.
So ein richtig dicker Boom.
See, the gemsbok or oryx have also gotten thirsty. They've now, or two of them are in the water already, but there are a few more coming from the right-hand side, everybody. I love gemsbok. I think that they are magnificent antelope. Perhaps the camera doesn't do them quite as much justice as it does to actually see one in real life, but the way their markings, especially on their face, and that beautiful grey color on their bodies, it really is iconic in some ways for these drier habitats. Both the males and the females have horns. And unlike some antelope species, I find it a bit trickier to tell the difference between male and female with their horns. You know, on an antelope like an eland, which we do sometimes see at Okokuya, but often at Oldonyo in Kenya, the females have a lot longer, skinnier horns. And it's similar in springbuck as well. The females have thinner, longer horns. But in these book, to a degree, maybe so for the females versus males, but very similar in terms of size of horns. And I find it a little bit more tricky to be able to tell them apart. You have to look at things like size and whether they've got that signature belly button at the bottom of their bellies. When I say belly button, I don't mean a physical belly button. It's just the penile sheath of the male that looks like a little belly button, similar to on wildebeest as well, a way that we can tell the male from the female. But otherwise, there's no clear color distinction with the likes of sable, antelope. You know, the male and the female do look different from one another. The springbuck as well look very much the same in terms of coloration. Gemsbok the same. So there are other things that we have to try to use to determine male versus female. I see there's some impala now, everybody, at the back there. And actually, I think we have an impala and a springbuck drinking next to one another on the leftish side of the... Oh, it actually just moved away now. But so often we get asked about springbuck versus impala, or often, you know, people may misidentify impalas as springbuck because they're the common small antelope that you see out in the bush. But they are, in fact, two completely different species, everybody. In fact, impala fall in its completely its own genus. It's its only animal of its type. So they're not even, you know, related to the springbuck at all. There we have a springbuck in between those impalas. So overall, a much darker in color antelope, the impala. And those springbuck have that very signature dark stripe running down the side. So I hope for those of you who maybe struggle to identify between springbuck and impala that this might help you. You can actually see walking on the left, we've got an impala, a springbuck, and another impala.
Attention all teachers. Round up your bundles of joy and get comfortable because WildEarth Kids Safaris are here to stay. Go to our website and sign your class up for a special virtual safari with interactive learning tailored for kids.
Good afternoon or good morning, boys and girls from all over the world.
Spoil your kids with some wild fun for 1 hour every weekday on our afternoon drives. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Impala. Ten po nikde, hopsa. A ten je jiný, ten je celý hnědý.
To je Impala.
Impala. Jaká brána černá.
Rány jsou tamhle zbytky.
Ty je dobrý se nakonec. A tamhle vzadu je taky něco většího. Teďka to odchází.
Tam vzadu sedí dva orly. Jako ten strom poslední vpravo přímo nad plotem. Je plot. Tam je větev, která ubíhá doprava a tam sedí dva orly. Ještě neberu, které jsou tu vrány. Ale tak je to stejně pejty. Mě tak divný otočení.
Jsi to nevzala? Ne, to se odjeli.
Tak vydejte. Ale to je
No to jo, to vidím tu. Pojď na ní.
to je silný hovna, pěkně.
Zjistila jsem, že bychom ty orly.
Ne, to teď ne. Ale to je...
A tady tomu nemá vůbec žádný růžky? Ten co odchází.
No, samice impaly nemají. U těch skákavek mají samci i samice, ale impal mají jenom samice.
No. Je, hele, teďka ten přímorožec, jak je v vodě.
Říkala, že to vypadalo jako laň. Je, takže ten.
Ty, tak to je...
Right, well, it looks like the impala herds have arrived today at the waterhole to drink. We actually haven't seen so many personally here at the waterhole in a very long time. I do see our one-horned springbuck is back drinking in the water just on the right-hand side there. I was saying just now how it could be various reasons why this particular springbuck only has one horn. It could be something that it was born like that. You know, we also sometimes, humans have teeth that just don't grow or something like that. And the same with the horn, perhaps it only ever had one horn. And these are these genetic variables that can occur. But it could also have broken off at the base. We'd only really be able to know that if we got a really close look up on its head. Sometimes you can actually see a dark spot where the base of the horn was, and since then it's broken off. And that could be from fighting with another springbuck, actually most likely that. Or, you know, it happens when it's very young and those horns aren't fully developed. And unfortunately, a springbuck or any antelope won't ever grow back their horns. And it's one of the key differences that we find if you ever wanted to compare. You know, we often get asked about antlers versus horns. What is the difference? We don't have any animal species in Africa that have antlers. That is something that certain types of deer, elk, those sorts of animals in North America and other parts of the world as well have. And basically it's a seasonal thing that grows in the summertime, and then they lose their antlers into autumn and winter. Whereas the antelope that we have in South Africa or in Africa, their horns are permanent, making them horns and not antlers. And actually inside there is bone that is attached to the skull. Hi Tembi, you want to know if the horn did break off, would it have hurt? And the answer is yes, it would have. You know, those horns, as I just mentioned, actually it's made from bone. And just like if we were to break our arm or something like that, I mean, it is very painful. And it's exactly the same for a antelope such as this. It definitely, you know, wouldn't be a pleasant experience. Something that is painful for them. but it wouldn't kill them. You know, they wouldn't, and they can survive without a horn. Depending also where it breaks off determines the amount of pain, you know, sort of a chip at the top of the horn or something like that wouldn't be, you know, as painful as if it breaks off right at the root. Oof, yeah, no, it gives me chills thinking about it. It's because those horns are a bone growth directly from the skull, so it is attached through bone into the skull. So, if I could put it that way, it's literally part of the animal's body, its makeup. One thing I'm also going to be watching out for here at Okukuyo are the birds. I've seen one or two already. There, of course, are the blacksmith lapwings. I saw the black-headed heron, which seems to be here most days. Well, probably every day, but we don't always spot it. There are definitely some crows. We often hear them calling. Egyptian geese. I think there was a little grebe on the water earlier as well, so I'll keep my eyes peeled to see if we can spot any other species around the waterhole in Namibia today.
A change in season affects us all, and WildEarth likes to help our global family keep up with the times. The end of October will see Europe and the UK shift an additional hour behind, and the start of November will see the US shift an additional hour behind. Stay connected to nature and your favorite shows with these new times. Don't miss a moment with WildEarth.
Well, there we have one of the animals that I was hoping would come down to the water today, and that is a giraffe. Slowly but surely, I'm so sure we'll see it come down to drink. I think this may be a very similar situation we had as to yesterday when there was this giraffe that we had to patiently watch it carefully make its way down towards the water. Hi, Yolandi. Yes, it does look like the giraffe is flipping a coin, saying, is it worth it? Is it not? I think it's going to flip a few coins on its way. There we go. It looks like it's stopping once again to decide. And then once it's down at the water's edge, it'll also flip another coin as to whether it's actually going to have a drink or not. I think it will, but often it does take a little bit of time until it eventually takes the plunge, as it were. So just taking a closer look at this particular individual giraffe, I was having a look if I could determine whether it was a male or a female. And I'm thinking that it's a female. And the reason I say that, everyone, is if you have a look on top of this giraffe's head, those horns, or well, they're officially actually known as ossicones, and I can explain that just now as to why, but we refer to them as horns because otherwise it gets a little bit technical, and I always think technicalities are sometimes unnecessary. The more simple we can make things for everyone to understand. Anyway, those horns on top of this giraffe's head are very thin, and they also look quite fluffy. That makes me think that this is a female. Again, we can look under the belly if we get a side angle of her to just confirm that there's no belly button on her. If this was a male, we usually see on males very sort of thick horns with a bald top. They don't have hair on top of the horns. And that is because the horns actually, the males, they fight for dominance and mating, right? That they hit each other on their bodies and necks with their horns on top of their head, which balds them. And so we don't find any hair on top of those horns. But she has decided that she's taken the drink. She's flipped the coin, everybody, and the water has won. Yes, Ellen, indeed. This giraffe has been drinking for a while. One of the longest little sessions there all at once. Definitely the thirst one on this giraffe, and it definitely needed to come down. Water. That was actually, you're right, Ellen, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't actually notice it at first, but that giraffe had its head down for a very long time. I think it might go back again. Let's have a look. Oh, everybody, there's a second giraffe. And a whole herd of oryx there just in front. So, but what a beautiful scene, everybody. Just take that in, the sky, those wispy clouds, and then the waterhole with these animals.
The expert in anything was once a beginner. November 17th is International Students' Day. Join us as we have budding naturalists learn from our wildlife experts on Drive. Come along as we demonstrate various critical guiding techniques, from good communication to tracking. Find out about all the tips and tricks and earn your safari stripes. Don't miss out on the fun. Wild Earth, it's in your nature. Well, it looks like we have not one, but two thirsty giraffes here today.
Tamara, that is such a lovely thing to say. And I think many of us find ourselves in the exact same boat as you. When you just think one is your favorite, another one comes along and just blows your mind or is amazing in its own way or super adorable. And it's so tricky to choose just one. There's aspects of all the different species that I find fascinating. And yeah, it's very, very difficult to choose a favorite, I must say. Stand where you're coming from, Tamara. It is not something that we find easy to choose or say this is the best animal in the bush. They all are the best.
Tu voulais t'asseoir? Hein?
This giraffe is still not finished, everybody. I mentioned earlier about the giraffe's horns not actually being called horns, and they have this other fancy word that's called ossicones. And basically, because when a giraffe is born, it is born with its ossicones on top of its head. They are just flat pressed against its skull. So that's also a way to determine how young a baby giraffe is. And if you do see a very little one, oh my goodness. Oh, they're bordering on being my favorite little animal. My favorite is the baby rhino, but oh my word, a baby giraffe just, oh man, makes me want to take one home. They are adorable. Anyway, and it's because those horns begin as cartilage, and that's what differentiates them from being classified as horns, everyone. It's why they've been given this other name called ossicones. And so because off as cartilage, flat pressed skull, and as it's older and older, they start to lift themselves up, start to come away from the skull. The cartilage starts to stand up straight. And when you see a little giraffe, often their horns are sort of skew or not straight up. They're at an angle, and that's because they're still starting to come up straight. They're still very young. And eventually, once those ossicones the cartilage has lifted all the way up, with time, eventually they harden and fully attached to the skull, and then harden into bone and form the horns that we see top of the giraffe. So just so if anyone ever wondered why there's this other name for giraffe horns, that's the reason why. But essentially they do end up being bone attached to the skull, but they can't be classified as horns scientifically, because horns are meant to grow out from the skull directly, and so the animals aren't born with horns, they develop later, whereas a giraffe is born with those ossicones as cartilage. Hi, Dave. think you're from Bristol, if I'm not mistaken. And you want to know if these animals see in color or black and white. Dave, it's a little bit more complex than just a simple one or the other. The different species will see in different sort of shades of colors, and some of them are blind to certain colors, and others will be colorblind to other colors, and it's all very technical with regards to rods and cones in their eyes, predator versus prey species, and how they adjust, but they won't in color like we see. Just to our eyesight would be something like a baboon, or the ape sort of species in that grouping. So we can't think that animals see us the way we see them, or the environment the same way that we do. So their eyes are basically adjusted more to do with lighting than to do with coloration. Especially, when it comes to predators having an extra layer within their eye to be able to reflect more light at night. That's why they are so well adapted to do more of their activities at night. And then we've got the prey species who don't have that extra reflective layer in their eye, and they are very well adapted to see in the daytime, but not so well at night. And that's why we find they become much less active in the evening time. So when it comes to colors, like I said, every species is a little bit different. For example, impalas are more to do with sort of shades of gray, and so that's why that black and white or dark and light coloring on the back of an animal is something that a lot of species have in terms of being able to follow one another. We see it in impala with the black lines on the back. We also see it in lions having the black tips of the tail, black behind the ears, known as follow me signs, because it's just an easy, either very dark or very light colors are easily distinguished, even if, for example, lions may see some wavelengths of blue and yellow, whereas, giraffe have limited color vision as well. But like I said, Dave, it's nothing compared to our eyes and the way that we can differentiate color. So they definitely see the world differently to what we see it as in terms of coloration. And like I say, species that can distinguish more colors than others. The reasoning behind that, it's difficult to say. I suppose it's just some animals are more advanced in some ways than others.
Hickory dickory dock, the kids ran to the spot. The clock struck 4, the kids sat down, hickory dickory dock. Our kids safaris bring interactive entertainment and learning to the future protectors of our world for 1 hour every weekday during our safari drives. Watch it live on your nearest device. Don't miss out on the fun. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Well, it looks like the giraffe have moved off everyone, and I'm sure they've headed there to those trees, perhaps to start feeding or making a walk all the way back towards the tree line where I'm sure they come from when we do see them here. Still got my fingers crossed to see those elephants come a little bit later. I'm so glad that I'm here for the whole show, so if they do come, I definitely won't miss it. Oh, hi, Tony. You have a very interesting question. I know which large book or a kudu, and I think we male versus female before, like the weight of male kudus, male hemsbock, and the female kudus female hemsbock to female kudu. Sorry, the words were escaping me. Because that way we can know. So if I just go on based on what I can see when I see these animals, I would say that the hemsbock are larger. If you see one, you will see that the hemsbock is a little bit bulkier in terms of like a larger body. The hemsbock just looks a little bit bulkier in terms of like a larger body size, whereas the kudu is a little bit more slender. Is sort of the best word that I can think of to describe it. So for kudu bulls, they weigh anywhere from about 200 to 270 kilograms, and even up to, I think the max was something like 300 kgs that they can reach. Whereas a hemsbock can weigh 220 to 300, so very similar, but on average you're looking at the hemsbocks being a little bit heavier. So a male kudu was like maybe 200 to max 300, whereas the hemsbock males start at 220 kgs. So they're very similar in size, whereas you've got the generally, like I say, your first impression that you get is that the hemsbock is larger in body mass, but you'll find probably that there are many that are actually the same weight. So a very big male kudu would weigh what a normal hemsbock male would weigh. So I hope that answers your question. Very, very close in size, but I think the hemsbock on average may just outdo the male kudu. And in terms of the female, sorry, I said I was going to mention both. It's very much a similar situation with the females of both species weighing anywhere from 100 to 200 kgs. So definitely smaller. And also the difference with the weight for the cows of both species is that the female kudus don't have horns. So, that of course adds some extra weight on to the female gemsbok as well. I do see some animals approaching in the distance, everyone. I wonder if that is a herd of zebra that are going to come down to the water. I absolutely love when zebras do come and drink. They form this sort of line, one next to the other, all facing the camera. And you can actually see it almost looks like a line of ants coming from the very green horizon tree line all the way towards the waterhole. Fantastic, everybody. Here they come.
On a été ordonné.
Oh, c'est en noir blanc.
Wir können ja aber 14 Uhr, wenn wir vor Transformator freundlichen Maria gehen und fragen, ob
Il y a des... Je sais jamais leur nom derrière. Le jaune. Les autres acteurs derrière. Non, c'est sûr. Le coudou, voilà. Le coudou, ça oui.
là où on était en Tanzanie, le lac était vraiment loin, on était déjà dans les voitures, donc on ne les voyait pas aussi simplement que ça. C'était très beau aussi, mais c'était pas...
Comme ça, beaucoup moins sec, ils ont l'air.
Ouais,
Ils ont
c'était
pas
plus
besoin. Il n'y avait pas vraiment de fond.
Oui, il y avait de l'eau.
Il y avait les rivières.
Il y avait les rivières, il y avait les...
Oui, même dans les rivières, il y avait des crocodiles, alors ils restaient pas là.
Ah, ça, le hippopotame.
Et des hippopotames. Et là, c'est vrai que les voir venir ensemble comme ça.
Les coudous.
C'est marrant parce qu'on les voit pas arriver, puis tout à coup ils sont là.
Les deux, déjà.
Elles sont toutes là.
Une de vous intéresse juste, hein. Ça nous a blessés parce que l'hiver, il venait de la limite de la forêt.
Seems like a never-ending stream of these zebras. How cool is it to watch them arrive from a distance and now all coming to drink here? what it looks like some of these zebras are already heading off, everyone, but it was still lovely to see them all down here at the water. I think there are some kudu approaching from the left hand side as well. So we really have a variety of species here this morning. Just a reminder to everyone that in 15 minutes or so, it will be 12 o'clock. I can't believe that, but we have Africam joining from 12. So if you are watching this on YouTube, please be sure that in about 15 minutes you're all set up to swap on over to the WildEarth app or on our website, where you can carry on enjoying the live at the Waterhole show. Alright everybody, well, this is such a beautiful scene here, and there's so many animals that we've been able to watch, which is fantastic. But how about we just head over to Djuma for a change of scenery, check in on what's happening that side, and I'm sure we'll come back to Okukuyo a little bit later. Alright everyone, well, there was the lapwing on the nest. I'm hoping that any day now we'll be able to see some of these little chicks come out. If you have not yet seen a baby blacksmith lapwing chick, you are in for a treat if we manage to spot them. But what a beautiful day here at Djuma. Very similar to the weather I'm having here in the low veld of South Africa. few clouds in the sky, but generally quite warm. It is every now and again when the sun peeps out from behind the clouds, it is like fire coming through. So the UV index, I think, is extremely high today. It's not blisteringly warm, but it is very humid, and I've noticed a change, particularly this week. I enjoy going for a run sometimes in the mornings, and now when I finish, because of the humidity and moisture in the air with all of this summertime coming, it is extremely warm and I'm very, very sweaty compared to sometimes in the winter where you actually don't really notice. It's a lot cooler. Anyway, those are some of my observations in the change of the weather around. The level of heat and humidity that is rising in the low veld. Alright, well, we've just had a little bit of a close-up of the bark of the tree on which the camera is attached to. Sometimes there are little creatures, everyone. It is worth checking to just see if there's something like a lizard or maybe a rock monitor. Well, yeah, it's in the same family, but you know, rock monitor or a skink or an agama or something like that sometimes is on the tree. So sometimes we do just have a little squiz around, but other than a few ants, I don't see anything else there at the moment. Alright, well, it was worth just checking here to see if there was anything else. Those lapwings are still sitting on the nest very comfortably. But why don't we head back over to the animals at Okukuyo. I can hear the click click clicks of a blacksmith lapwing. And of course those lovely splish splash sounds which we always enjoy here at Okukuyo.
Africam brings the wild to you. Watch the big 5 at our Waterhole cameras. Indulge your passion for birding with the black eagles on the Black Eagle camera, flamingos at Camphor's Dam, and penguins at Stony Point. Listen to the soothing sounds of Lisbon Falls, or witness animals up close at Cat-Eye Pan. Imagine you're at the hide at Aldonyo Lodge, gazing at elephants with the majestic Mount Kilimanjaro as your backdrop. Join us at Africam for an extraordinary wildlife adventure.
All right, so in a very short time, we are going to be heading into Africa, everybody. So just so you are aware, very shortly we will be joined by those camera locations.